Dear participants, welcome to the session on Indian elections and Election Commission of India. I would like to show you the magnitude of the Indian election at present when we consider it from the conduct of Lok Sabha election 2019. In this election, we had 910 million voters for 543 parliamentary constituencies, having 8,040 candidates, and in which 1.48 million EVMs and VVPATs were used, and there were more than 1 million polling stations, 12 million security personnel and election staff were used, and more than 1200 observers were appointed by the Election Commission of India. The participants, you can very well understand that election and its conduct, particularly for the House of the People, that is Lok Sabha, is a vast logistical and huge manpower oriented exercise, and Election Commission has been doing it flawlessly since the first Lok Sabha election. Friends, if you see the benchmark of Indian election, it is free, fair and peaceful, transparent and credible, it is inclusive, it considers the specific aspects of weaker sections, focuses on gender, the youth, persons with disability. Special provisions are made. As we go forward, you will see how the Election Commission ensures participation of all. It is very much voter friendly, and moreover, the Indian elections are nothing but festival of democracy, in which it takes a very festive look right from the announcement of election, after which very colorful and very engaging voter awareness exercise starts, and till the casting of the vote, it continues. Friends, the Election Commission of India was founded on 25th of January 1950. Now we celebrate this particular day as National Voters' Day. It is a permanent autonomous constitutional body as per 324 article of Constitution of India. It holds power and responsibility of superintendence, direction and control of entire election process. Election Commission is the sole authority for scheduling the elections to state legislatures, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and offices of President and Vice President. Election Commission is not just a regulatory body but also an election management body. Election Commission of India is also responsible for deployment of necessary police and paramilitary forces during election, and also having the right to engage requisite government officials during election time. At present, the Election Commission of India is a 3-member body headed by Chief Election Commissioner, and there are 2 election commissioners, and they are having status equivalent to Judge of Supreme Court of India. At present, we are having 910 million voters enrolled under the electoral roll in different constituencies. There are 8 national parties, 52 state recognized parties, and 2578 unrecognized registered parties. And as I said, we are having approximate 1 million polling stations as per last Lok Sabha election. And Election Commission of India is having a record of conducting 17 parliamentary elections, 337 provincial elections and 15 president, vice president elections in India. Friends, Article 324(1) is the bedrock of election process, in which the superintendence, direction and control of the preparation of the electoral rolls for and the conduct of all elections to Parliament and to the legislature of every state, and of elections to the offices of President and Vice President of India are vested in the Election Commission. It is independent, autonomous and impartial, as the constitutional forefathers have vested the entire direction, superintendence and control of the entire process under the Election Commission of India. As per the Constitution of India, the Article 324 already I have mentioned. Article 325 provides that no person shall be excluded from electoral roll merely on the grounds of religion, race, caste or sex. Also provides for one general electoral roll for every territorial constituency for election. So we are having equality for every citizen to be enrolled as voter. As per Article 326, there is a universal adult suffrage for elections to House of People and legislative assemblies unless disqualified under law on the ground of non-residence unsoundness of mind, crime or corrupt or illegal practice. Article 327 provides power of Parliament to make law with respect to elections to either House of Parliament and to either House of State Legislature. Article 328 of Constitution of India provides for, subject to the Constitution and the law made in this regard by the Parliament of India, State Legislature has the power to make law for anything not covered by the Constitution and law made by Parliament with respect to matters pertaining to election to either House of Legislature of that state only. Article 329 provides bar to interference by courts in electoral matter. Only election petitions can be filed under procedure prescribed under Representation of People Act 1951. So that way, once election process starts, courts cannot interfere as per Article 329 of Constitution of India. Part 16 of Constitution of India provides for special provision related to certain classes. Article 330 provides for reservation of seats for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes in the House of Parliament people in proportion of population. Article 331 representation of the Anglo-Indian community in the House of People. Article 332 reservation of seats for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe in the legislative assemblies of state. Article 333 representation of the Anglo-Indian community in the legislative assemblies of states. Article 334 reservation of seats and special representation to cease after 80 years. Moreover, even the Constitution of India provides how the election to President and Vice President of India to be conducted as per Article 55 and 66. Now, let's come to Representation of People Act 1950. It contains the provision for allocation of seats, delimitation of constituencies and preparation of electoral roll, which is to be used for elections. It also provides for electoral officers, that is Chief Electoral Officer, District Election Officer, Electoral Registration Officer and Assistant Electoral Registration Officer, who are deemed to be on deputation to Election Commission of India for the period during which they are so employed and are subject to control, superintendence and discipline of Election Commission of India. That is, Election Commission of India commands complete control over entire election machinery. Part 3 and 4 of the Act provides for electoral roll for the Parliamentary Assembly and Council constituencies. Part 4A provides for manner of filling of seats in the Council of States to be filled by representative UTs, including constitution of electoral colleges, termination from the electoral college for certain disqualification. Moreover, the Representation of People Act also provides the general clauses in Part 5, like power to make rules in consultation with ECI, staff of local authority to be made available on request, bar and jurisdiction of civil courts, punishment for false declaration, etc. Representation of People Act 1951, it contains the provisions for the actual conduct of elections to both the Houses of Parliament and legislatures of states. The qualification and disqualification for membership of these houses, the corrupt and illegal practices, electoral offences and decision on electoral disputes. The Act provides for detailed chapter on disqualification for MPs and MLAs on various grounds such as conviction of certain offences, corrupt practices, government contracts, for failure to lodge correct account of election expenses. The Act provides for a hierarchical structure of administrative machinery for conduct of election in Part 4. There are separate provisions explaining the scheme of registration of political parties in Part 4A. Part 5 provides for process of nomination of the candidates and their agents and other general procedure during election. Part 6 deals with the laying down dispute resolution machinery with respect to the elections. It deals with separate chapter on filing on election petition in the High Court, trial of such petitions, their withdrawal and abatement and appeals to the petition. Part 7 deals with corrupt practices and electoral offices in detail. Part 8 deals with the power of Election Commission in connection with the inquiries as to disqualification of members, by-election and some miscellaneous provision like terms of office of the members of the Council of States and State Legislative Assemblies. Moreover, Part 11 deals with the general provision of power to make rules and barred jurisdiction of civil courts. The Conduct of Election Rules 1961. It lays down the detailed provision for manner and procedure as to how the election shall be conducted. These rules deal with the general provision with respect to nomination paper, form of affidavit, symbols for election in the parliamentary and assembly constituencies, validly nominated candidates, preparation of list of contesting candidates, etc. Further, they provide rule with respect to postal ballots, procedure for voting, proxy voting for service voter, voting with ballot EVMs in parliamentary constituencies and assembly constituencies, counting of votes, election expenses, etc. And Indian Penal Code also provides in Chapter 9A of offences related to election like bribery, undue influence at elections, personation at elections, false statement in connection with an election, illegal payments in connection with the election, failure to keep election accounts. Friends, once elections are conducted or even during the period or before that, there might be certain dispute related to electoral processes. So there are electoral dispute resolution mechanism which are provided as per law. For dispute related to electoral roll, any person can pass an appeal before the district election officer or chief electoral officer against the decision of electoral registration officer, and even they can avail the remedy by the writ petition in the High Court and Supreme Court. The dispute related to party symbols are decided by Election Commission under Election Symbols Reservation and Allotment Order 1968. Paragraph 15 and 16 of the Symbols Order 1968 deals with the power of Commission in relation to splinter groups of rival sections of recognized political parties and amalgamation of two or more political parties. The Commission has power to adjudicate any dispute related to newly formed parties and the allocation of symbol. Election disputes during the election. Courts have been prevented expressly by Article 329B of the Constitution of India from questioning any election to either House of Parliament or to the House or either House of Legislature of a state, except by way of an election petition to be filed within 45 days of declaration of result of election before the High Court. And disputes can be raised only through an election petition. It provides that the omission and commissions taking place during an election can be challenged only after the election process is completed. Section 100 and 101 of the RP Act 1951 provide the grounds on which an election petition can be filed. Dispute pertaining to election expenditure, as these days the election expenses are one of the major issues, and Commission provide for an elaborate machinery to control and keep an eye on the election expenses made by the candidates and political parties. So according to Section 78 of the Representation of People Act 1951, every contesting candidate is required to lodge a true copy of the account of his election expenses with the district election officer within 30 days of the declaration of result of the election. Failure to do so the same without good reason or justification may result in disqualification of the candidate concerned by the Election Commission of India under Section 10A of the Representation of People Act 1951. Any complaints regarding election expenditure is decided by the Election Commission of India. Disqualification of a member of parliament under Article 102. The decision has to be made by the President of India under Article 103 on question of disqualification, and in such cases the President shall obtain opinion of Election Commission and shall act according to opinion of the Election Commission. Similarly, disqualification of member of State Legislative Assembly or Legislative Council under Article 191 of Constitution of India, the decision on such petition has to be made by Governor under Article 192 on question of disqualification, and in such cases the Governor shall obtain opinion of the Election Commission and shall act according to the opinion. In India, the hierarchy of the election machinery is very clearly defined. At the apex is the Election Commission of India. Below Election Commission of India, in every state there is a Chief Electoral Officer, which has total 36 in numbers right now. Below Chief Electoral Officer, for every district, there is a District Election Officer, which are at present 719. For every assembly constituency, Electoral Registration Officer or Assistant Electoral Registration Officers are appointed, which are 4216 EROs are in number, and 12,905 Assistant EROs are at present in number. And at the bottom is the Booth Level Officer, who are appointed for one or more parts. At present, we are having 9.16 lakhs, that is 0.9 million booth level officers. So you can very well understand the magnitude of the election machinery for conduct of election, as well as this particular machinery is used for preparation of the electoral roll also. The building blocks of electoral governance in India is independence and autonomy. The entire election process is free from any kind of influence. It is free, fair, and transparent. Everything is available in public domain. Stakeholders, right from political parties, citizens, civil society, all groups are properly consulted. There is a capable human resource available. All the staff are drawn from the government agencies and they are properly trained before conduct of election. Election Commission of India is in the forefront in using the information technology tools. There is a proper detailed mechanism on focus on election expenditure monitoring to control the abuse of money power. There is a model code of conduct which is voluntary and has to be followed by each and every political parties during the election campaigning. We are having one of the most reliable and stable electronic voting machine system. We are providing basic minimum facilities at all the polling stations to ensure that there should not be any inconvenience to any voter when the voter comes for casting the vote. And there is an elaborate systematic voter education and empowerment program, sweep, in which throughout the year the voter awareness program are organized, and more so during the electoral election period, extensive programs are organized to awake and to raise awareness among the voters about different processes of election, about the voting and importance of voting. Election Commission of India also register the political parties, allot the symbol, and Election Commission constantly monitor the status of all the political parties, whether they are filing their accounts and whether they are fulfilling the criteria for recognized as national party, state party, or they are just unrecognized registered party. At present, in the last Lok Sabha election, more than 1 polling stations across the country are prepared with assured minimum facility, right from the Kashmir to Kanyakumari and Arunachal Pradesh to Kutch. So in every place, in every polling station, basic minimum facilities were ensured. Considering the diversity of India, it is a huge achievement. The assured minimum facilities are signages, help desk, polling booth at ground floor, booth volunteers, proper pathway, ramp. There is a great focus on creating facilities for persons with disabilities, separate toilets for men and women, drinking water facility, wheelchairs, proper lighting, display of accessible election poster for information to different classes of voter, braille ballot guide, and adjustable braille embossed EVM by which person with visual impairment can also cast their vote. And attempts were also made to provide for transportation facilities for person with disabilities. There is proper queue management system put in place. As I mentioned earlier, this huge exercise has been conducted since 1952. So far 17 parliamentary elections and 16 president and vice president and numerous elections for provinces have been conducted by Election Commission of India. If you see, it is not just the size and magnitude, it is also taking about democracy even to remotest location. There are many places. There was one polling station in the deep jungle for which for only one voter a polling station was set up by Election Commission of India. So such is the commitment. Dealing with the regional, religious, ethnic, cultural and linguistic diversities. As we know, India is a huge country and one single process is applied throughout the country, taking into account the diversities. Polling staffs have used elephants, camels, boats, cycle, helicopter, train, even in the inaccessible regions. The EVMs and personnel, they were dropped using the choppers. So commitment of Election Commission of India to every citizen is immense, and Commission reaches out in every nook and corner. If you see our the magnitude of Indian election comparison with other democracies, we are far ahead. Like if you see India, we are having 910 million voters. Our next United States of America is having 191 million voters. Brazil is having 140 million voters. Indonesia is having 189 million voters. Nigeria is having 67 million voters. Russia is having 109 million voters. So that way you can very well understand where India stands in comparison with other democracies. Coming to Model Code of Conduct, it is a moral guide for candidates and political parties. It has evolved with consensus with political parties and other groups. It ensures a level playing field for all the political parties and candidates. It expects and observes ethical conduct of good behavior, and this entire process is monitored by the observers, by the different flying squad and other teams on the ground, and every stakeholder is properly sensitized. As we see, India is full of diversity, linguistic diversity. There's so many languages. So when it comes to awareness program, Election Commission of India reaches out in the local flavor with local language, local icons, local taste in terms of dresses, in terms of ideas, and everywhere involvement of citizens and popular people who are called icons are made. The accessibility of the electoral process has been put into great emphasis by Election Commission, and now, as indicated earlier, there is a great focus on creating proper facilities for person with disability, all kinds of disabilities, and Election Commission is constantly taking endeavor to ensure participation of civil services group working for the welfare of persons with disability and taking into their ideas for election planning. In the recent initiatives by Election Commission is the intensive focus on the voter education, expenditure monitoring, leveraging technology, none of the above, nota feature, and e-Postal ballot. There is a systematic voters education and electoral participation program by under which extensive survey of knowledge, attitude, behavior is taken up, and on the basis of that, proper sweep campaign is designed and executed by the ground level team by focusing on each target group like youth, like gender, like persons with disability, like urban apathy is targeted. So that all ensures, and that not it is not only done through the traditional medium, but also the social media is used, the traditional print media is used, even the local cultural troops are involved. So all kind of complete holistic planning is done, and holistic execution is ensured, by which each and every sections of the society is touched by the election machinery before the conduct of election. Now there is a voter awareness forum has been set up in every institution, every offices, whether it is government or private, to involve the citizens in the electoral process. Through infographics, through social media, the messages are sent to all the citizen as how they can approach the election machinery, what is the process of election. Recently, Election Commission started with the e-Postal ballot system, especially for the service voter, that is Army, Air Force, Navy, and paramilitary forces. The postal ballot is electronically transmitted from the electoral registration or returning officer to their units, which ensures a seamless transfer of postal ballot to them. They take the print and then they send the casted ballot by speed post, and it reaches to the returning officer, and the ballot is counted. So that way, once the electronic transmission is made, so it cuts the transportation time and ensure a higher participation by the service voter. It has been very effective in participation of the service voter. Earlier, the old system was leading to a lot of the delay, and this system has proved to be very useful. Election Commission of India has introduced nota option with effect from 11th October 2013. Now there is a symbol also, that cross symbol on a paper is used for none of the above. So even if when the voter is not willing to cast the vote in favor of any particular candidate, so nota option must be exercised in such cases, so that person or voter can show the participation and also show that the none of the candidates are as per the liking. Election Commission of India is publishing a voice.net magazine in which voter information communication education network is there. It is a global knowledge network which Election Commission of India has pioneered, and there was an election international conference organized by Election Commission of India in 2016, and as per the New Delhi declaration adopted at the conference of 25 election management bodies and representatives of from UNDP, International IDEA, IFES and Malaysian Commonwealth Study Center. The voice.net contents are provided by the member election management bodies, and the portal is maintained by the Election Commission of India. At present, it has 29 active members from election management bodies throughout the world. Election Commission of India has recently put more focus on election expenditure monitoring. Now there is a proper dedicated division set up for that. It brings transparency in campaign finance, candidate affidavit, expenditure statement, and also through expenditure observers system. Comprehensive instructions and enforcement to deal with illegal use of money and media in election has been put into system. There is a proper dedicated flying squads, static surveillance team, and enforcement agencies back in every assembly constituency and parliamentary constituency of India. There is a proper sealing of expenditure, and the candidate and political parties have to file the expenditure statement. And now there is a proper instruction that the candidate and political party, they should make all the payments through check only. Election Commission of India has been pioneer in using technology, and now there is a more emphasis on using the video camera, still camera, even webcasting from the polling stations. There is a now GPS has been made mandatory for transportation of EVM, and there is a proper portal for issuing the permissions to all the political parties and candidates. There is a single portal for redressal of public grievances. There is a particular portal for vehicle management system. So that way, Election Commission of India has come up with the numerous tools to ensure a smooth conduct of election by using the modern information technology tools. ECI is having a very high standards all over the globe. ECI is currently the chair of Association of World Election Bodies, which has 120 election management bodies as its members and 21 regional associations as associate members. ECI is founding member and former chair of Association of Asian Election Authorities, AAEA. ECI is founding member and chair of Forum of Election Management Bodies of South Asia. ECI has been a member of Steering Committee of Commonwealth Election Network. ECI is a member of Community of Democracies. ECI has signed MOUs with 26 election management bodies and international organizations, and also is in the forefront of capacity building of emerging democracies, in which training programs are organized by the resource persons of Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India has set up an institution called India International Institute of Democracy and Election Management, which is training the electoral machinery in delivery of free, fair and flawless elections, and orienting the stakeholders in the democratic and electoral system towards a better and more productive conduct of election. And it is also engaged in the electoral research. Friends, Election Commission of India since its formation has been flawlessly conducting elections to House of People, State Legislative Assembly and Councils, offices of President and Vice President, flawlessly in a free, fair and transparent manner. Indian elections are considered gold standard among the world democracies. It is a matter of pride that it is continuously evolving, adopting modern technologies and ensuring proper facilities for different sections of society in a very participative manner, by creating better facilities, by ensuring ease of voting, and by especially taking care of the person with disabilities. Thank you.